Do you know how hard it is to sneak this much stuff past security ponies in your own stable? I looked at Milkshake like I misheard what she just told me. I had to, because there was no way she could be banishing me from my home. I laughed a little as I looked her in the eyes. That's a good one, Milkshake. Almost had me there. My oldest friend didn't laugh. She didn't smile. She looked back into my eyes and sighed deeply. I'm not joking, Shadow. What do you mean you're not joking? You have to be. Why would you banish me from Stable 28? This is my home, the place I grew up in, I yelled. Shadow, this isn't your home. Not anymore. Honestly, it never was. You lived here for 10 years. You made a couple of friends, but you know that you never belonged here. I just don't want to say or do this, but it's for the best, she said. I could see it was hurting her to say it, almost as much as for me to hear it. That's bullshit. This is just as much my home as it is yours, I exclaimed. She moved forward and pulled me into a hug. She ignored my outburst, ignored my attempts to push her away. She held me tight. Your home isn't here. This place was a prison. I don't want to let you go. You're my best friend and I love you so much. But you can't keep looking back. Stop thinking about Stable 28 and start worrying about yourself and your friends. I finally pushed her away. Milkshake, I can't just let Stable 28 go. If it wasn't for this place, I wouldn't be the pony I am now. I know that. But now it's time to grow up and move on. I've heard about the things that you've done while you were out there. Some of them are scary and horrible, but most of the things you've done are good, and you did it for the betterment of ponykind. Stable 28 is just a crutch for you to lean on when you feel like slinking back into your past. I'm not letting you do that anymore. There are ponies out there that need a symbol of hope. You're the symbol they need. You're the pony that can give them hope. I'm doing this because you need some pony to push you towards your destiny, and Stable 28 needs to heal. And that can't happen with a pony who had a small part in hurting it, even if it was unintentional. But if I can't ever come back, I won't see you again, I said, quieter this time. I never said that, Shadow. No matter what, I'm not losing you again. Just because you can't come back into the stable doesn't mean you won't see me or Balefire again. I plan on making this part of the wasteland. It's the only way we can survive. I turned away from her. It's not fair. No, it's not. But that's the way life is, she retorted, walking around me and looking me in the eyes. This isn't goodbye, it's see you later. As for Stable 28, it's time for you to forget about it. It's not your responsibility anymore. I walked past the new Overmare with a hard edge in my voice. As you wish, Madam Overmare. I'll get my friends and we'll head out. I wouldn't want us dirty wastelanders to scare the populace more than we already have. Shadow, don't go like that, she started to say, but I rounded on her. Don't. Just don't, I said, turning again to keep on walking back towards Vervaine's room. When I walked in, Vervaine looked up at me with concern. Are you okay? I grabbed my stuff. No, I'm not. I started looking through my saddlebags, trying to find my barding and the duster. As I did, she asked, What's wrong? I threw my saddlebags against the wall. Milkshake just told me I'm banished from my stable. I'm getting my friends and leaving. Why would she do that? I don't know. Go ask the new Overmare. She said something about me needing to move on and put this place behind me. Also, my friends and I scare the poor, weak stable ponies. Fuck them. I don't even know why I bothered coming back here in the first place. Could have let this place destroy itself. Some thanks I get for fucking helping. I knew I was just lashing out, but I didn't care anymore. Vervaine walked over and slapped me. Hard. Listen here, Shadow. I don't care how angry you are right now. But I don't ever want to hear you say anything like that again. You understand me? I took a step back, my anger boiling over. Why the fuck not? Why should I care one bit about the ponies here, huh? Even after saving them, they still want me gone. They can't stand me because I'm different. Even worse, now they're scared of me. I saved their worthless lives, and now this is how I'm treated? Fuck Stable 28. hope the whole place collapses in on itself. Shadow Star! Shut your mouth! Vervain yelled. That got me to shut up. Vervain never yelled at me, not like that. It took a minute to breathe. Then, in a calmer tone, I said, Why did she want me to leave? What did I do wrong? Did you ever stop to think that maybe she's doing it for your own good? Did you think that maybe this hurts her just as much as it hurts you? No. Milkshake has to think about what's best for every pony in here. That goes for you, too. She knows just how much, as I do, that you don't belong here. Not because who you used to be or what you did here, but because the stable doesn't need you. The wasteland does. She was right. I know she's right. I just didn't like it. I sighed, moving over to my saddlebags, picking them up. I know. I just don't like it. Once I leave, I won't have anywhere to call home. She smiled. Shadow, home is wherever your family is. For you, that's your friends. As long as you're with them, you're always home. I couldn't help but smile. Thanks, Auntie Vervain. I don't know how you're always able to be calming me down like this. I raised you. It took years of practice, she said simply. Now, let's go find your friends, and you owe Milkshake an apology. How do you know that? She winked. I know you. I'm sure you said something hurtful when you walked away. Let's go. Yes, ma'am, I said sarcastically as we walked back out down the atrium. When I arrived with Vervain back in the atrium, I saw Windthrasher and Wingnut were both waiting with Milkshake. As I walked in, Milkshake looked down at her hooves, trying not to meet my eyes. I moved over to her, used a hoof to lift her head so I could look at her. As much as I don't like what you decided, I realize that it's for the best. I'm sorry for what I said earlier. She smiled and pulled me into a tight hug. I'm sorry too. I just don't like the decision I made either, but it had to be done. I hugged my oldest friend back. Remember to let me know when you have the foal, okay? She pulled away, then nodded. I'll get you the message. Don't you worry. You take care of Balefire, too. He has a lot of getting used to his new life. Don't let him use his injury as an excuse to slack off, either. She wiped her eyes. That won't be a problem. He's already finding new ways of training security. He wants to take over as head of security since Silver Badge didn't make it through the fight. How will he be able to do that? Didn't he lose a leg? I asked. He did, but that won't stop him. We're planning on looking through more cybernetics, but with more restrictions on how we do it. I didn't like the old Overmare was doing in R&D, but with the right ponies and information, I'm sure we can do something without having to test them on old retired ponies. Milkshake replied. As long as you don't go back to doing what they were doing before, I don't see a problem with it, I said. Vervain nodded and smiled. I don't think you have to worry about the Overmare doing what the others did before her. I take it we're leaving? Wingnut asked. Yeah, as soon as I figure out where my barding went, I said, looking through my pip buck, trying to figure out where it was in my saddlebags. I know I put them in my saddlebags yesterday. I took them out, Wingnut said, digging through his own and pulling out my duster and barding. It was really dirty and full of holes. I figured that since I had free access to R&D, I'd use my free time to fix what I could for you. I took the barding and duster and looked them over. The protective plate that ran up to cover my neck had been replaced and reinforced. On the front of the words Equestrian Express had been painted a bright red to match my eyes. The black barding that I wore under the duster was also fixed, the padding inside replaced, the leather straps that ran over the chest now had metal studs. The leg coverings were also reinforced. Last was the duster. The shoulder pads were now metal. My own cutie mark had been painted on the left. On the right, where it would have the number 28, it now has the words EE Courier. New holsters were looped around just inside the duster so I could keep a couple of weapons within reach. The last one that looped around the back of it for my plasma rifle. You did all this yourself, kiddo? I asked in awe as I started to put the barding on, then the duster. Yeah, I wanted to make sure you were still safe out there, just like Silver. When I was looking over what I found, a few things that I was able to make some improvements on, so I don't hope you mind, Wingnut said, blushing a little. I love it, Wingnut. Thank you for fixing it. Also, I never mind with things like this. If you have any new ideas for my barding, all you gotta do is tell me, and I'll let you tinker away. He smiled. That wasn't the only thing I was working on. You mean you found time to do something else while you're working on this? I asked. Yeah, he said, reaching behind him and pulling out a rifle. It looked familiar, but I wasn't sure where it was from. It was a lever-action rifle with upgraded sights, silver and gold markings running up and down each side, and inscribed in emerald green lettering, it said Equestrian Express. That's a fancy-looking rifle. Where did you find it? I asked. He cocked an eyebrow. It's old Festus. I was finally able to find all the parts I needed to fix it. I needed a new stock and firing mechanism. I found the firing mechanism at matching tariffs the first day we got to freedom. The stock was harder to find. Even worse was once I started taking it apart, I found that the firing chamber was also damaged, so I needed to find more parts. I was all ready to scrap it when we got to Spitfire's Flight Academy. While you were with the stranger, I talked to one of the ponies there and had a lot of parts for older repeaters. I had time while we were there, and I finally was able to repair it and improve it. I noticed that there was metal of the barrel at the wood stock. The old metal piece with the word Old Festus was screwed into it. I smiled and pulled the rifle close to me. It's beautiful, Wingnut. How did you know how to do this? It's my special talent. I'm good at fixing things and making them better. I thought you'd like to have it back. You used to love that old rifle, he added happily. I looked at the rifle. He wasn't wrong. I loved Old Festus. It was the first good weapon I'd been given by any pony. It was also the last thing I had from box tape, now that my old duster was destroyed. Then my eyes fell on Wingnut. He was wearing a newer set of combat armor that looked like he altered it to fit his Colt frame. His revolver was holstered on one side. The whole time we'd been traveling together, that was the only thing he'd ever used. It was worn and weathered, but he was an expert with it. Still, it took time to reload, and it was his only weapon. You know what, kiddo? You're right. I do love this rifle. It means a lot to me. So do you. I gave the rifle back to him. I want you to keep Old Festus. I have enough weaponry, and you can get better use of it than I can. His eyes went wide. Are you sure? I'm doing just fine with my revolver. I know you are, but I'd rather have you safe while we're out there fighting. Old Festus is a great rifle, and I think you need something more powerful and something easier to reload. Also, it never hurts to have more than one gun. He took the rifle and smiled as he looked over the beautiful finish. I'll make sure to cherish it like I do with my own revolver. Thank you, Shadow. No problem, kiddo, I said, looking down at the revolver. I've been meaning to ask, where did you get that old thing? My revolver? My dad gave it to me not long before he died. He said it used to belong to his father, and he wanted me to keep it safe. Wingnut replied. Now you have two guns you need to keep safe. Yeah, maybe we should let Wind Thrasher have it. He doesn't have a rifle at all, he said, looking over at her. She giggled. I don't need a gun, Wingnut. I have my fangs, speed, and my scream. Also, I'm not very good with that kind of weaponry. Are you sure? What if you need one someday? I'll be fine, Wingnut. You should keep it, Wind Thrasher said with a smile. Well, unless Wingnut has any more surprises, we really should get going. About that, where are we going? Wingnut asked. We'll swing our cartwheel first. Then after that, we're heading to Saint's Parish. Why are we going all the way out there? Wingnut asked, looking confused. We're going to find Stable 97, so we can get away to get Stardust back. I think it's about time we saved him. How do you know he'll even be in Stable 97? If he's the new Pride, wouldn't he be staying around New Pegasus? Wind Thrasher asked. Yeah, normally. But the Sins are hell-bent on killing me, or at least getting a hold of me. I figured if we found a way to let them know we're heading to Saints Parish, then he'll follow. Stable 97 is where they fucked with his mind and memories. They gotta have a way to fix it.
So we're gonna head into another stable. An active stable, mind you, and just take it over to save Stardust?
Wingnut asked. Yeah, and it's not like going into stable 28. From what Stardust told me, when we played that one joke that was really funny and fucked up, the Enclave killed the former occupants and took it over. This is just us breaking into Enclave territory.
And fighting a whole lot of Pegasi.
Windthrasher interrupted.
That could be more dangerous than your stable.
It can, but I don't see another way to help it.
I say we do it. I don't care what we have to do. I want our friend back,
Wingnut said. Windthrasher blushed a little.
I'd like for him to be able to thank him properly for saving me from Stable 9. I guess we have a good plan going in. I'm okay with it.
Then it's settled. Let's start to cartwheel.
Wait, where's Zora?
Wingnut asked. She left to go get Doorstop. He's going with us, I replied. He gave me a stern look.
You do know that she's my bodyguard, not your personal Aaron Griffin, right?
Yeah, I needed her help. He walked over and poked me in the chest.
Ask me next time. She's under contract with me now, not you. That'll be 50 caps.
I frowned and rolled my eyes, and tossed the caps in his face. Fine, sorry, can we go now? My two friends nodded, then turned to head towards the stable door. Milkshake and Vervain followed us until we arrived at the open gear-shaped door. When we came up to the panel that controlled the door, I hooked the Mark II into it, and took off the block, keeping the door unlocked. Once that was done, I turned back to Vervain and Milkshake. I guess this is goodbye. Milkshake smiled and hugged me.
We'll see each other again, don't worry.
She's right, Shadow. Stable 28 may no longer be your home, but we will always have a part of you here, and we're still your family. Don't ever forget that, Vervain said. I know, but I just have a feeling that I'm not going to see either of you again, or Balefire. I can't see the Overmare leaving the stable. Even if the doors are open, you'll have too much to do here. And Vervain has her own duties. Shadow, all you have to do is get a message to me that you want to see me, and I'll make sure to get time to see you in Cartwheel. Vervain plans on showing me the town a couple of weeks once things settle down here. I'm not going to let that happen here, keep me from seeing my best friend. I hugged her again. Remember, I asked you to tell me when you're having the foal. I can't wait to find out what you're having.
You'll be the first to know after Balefire. I promise you that,
Milkshake said.
Now go out there and do what you were meant to do.
I nodded and turned to Vervain and hugged her. I'll let you know as soon as I find a way to help Mom. Be sure you do. I know that somewhere deep down she's still in there, Vervain said. Also, make sure you don't let anything happen to the Mark II. There isn't any protection on it anymore. I was going to ask you about that. How'd you get that protection program on there, and get it to stay when the Mark II was set up for a new user? She laughed. I had the program ready to go on my own Pip-Buck, just in case something like that happened to you. Don't you remember me hooking my Pip-Buck into yours when I was talking to you in medical? Yeah, but I thought you were trying to send me some kind of file. No, I updated the program there and then. I had to do it quick in case the doc came back. Oh, okay. Speaking of that day, what happened with Tender Whip anyway? I remember Doc getting called that he was crashing? She blushed. Glimmershot wanted to help you get out too after what happened. She told me she was willing to do what she had to do, so I told her I needed a distraction. She injected him with a lethal dose of Med-X. You mean you told Glimmer to kill Tenderwhip just to save me? No, I didn't tell her to do that. I told her I needed a distraction. She killed him all on her own. When I asked her about it later, she told me that he was planning on killing you when he was out of the clinic. I felt bad for what happened, and she hated him, so she just killed him, Vervain said. I took a moment to think about that asshole security pony, putting my life hell on me whenever I could. And honestly, I don't see what the problem with it. He was just as bad as Wildfire. I agree with you there, though I wish she would have let me deal with him before she'd hadn't killed a pony. The guilt ate at her for a while after that. Speaking of Glimmer, I haven't seen her since the battle ended. I know she survived. Where did she go? I asked. When I spoke to her last, she decided to leave Stable 28 and go to the Steel Rangers. She wanted to get away from here as fast as she could. I think she'll do well with them. She's skilled in a fight and knows her way around more high-tech things, like the Steel Rangers like to go after. I smiled, happy to hear she was doing something different. I'll have to go see her next time I'm at the bunker. You be sure to tell her I said hi, and tell her thank you for helping with me so much. Vervain said, hugging me again. You be safe out there, sweetie. I will. You keep an eye on Box Tape when you can. Sure, he's old, but from the time I spent with him, he still gets into mischief. I will. I'll see you later, sweetie, she said. With that, I turned and walked through the stable door, rejoining my friends who were waiting for me on the other side. As soon as I was through, the door started to shut behind me. This time, I did look back. My eyes met with Vervain's and Milkshake's as the door closed. I wanted that image of Stable 28 to be my last. A better one than the last time I left. Ready to go? Wingnut asked. Yeah. Let's go find Aura and then Stardust, I replied, walking past them into the dark tunnel, leaving the stable I used to call home far behind. When we reached the entrance to the tunnel, I found a note from Aura, waiting for us. Meet us in Cartwheel, Oswald said. So we started walking along, back towards Cartwheel. As we walked, the three of us started to talk about small things. Wingnut told us more about his parents and the places they used to go to when he was younger. Windthrasher admitted she loved reading her romance novels because she was secretly fantasizing about the day she would fall in love the same way the mares in her stories did. Wingnut and I both had a long laugh at that one, until she bore her very sharp fangs at us and asked in the sweetest voice of all, Do you have a problem with that? We both shut up and changed the subject to planning on how to get a message to the Sins about where we were going. My first thought was to try and get a hold of Greed. If anyone could get a message to them, it would be him. Then Wingnut pointed out that could blow his cover if we did that. So we kept on planning until later in the day when we made it to Cartwheel. Box Tape met us in the center of town, where a smaller sky carriage was waiting for us with Aura, doorstop, and laser light. When I saw the gray Pegasus in her flight jacket, meant to keep her wings hidden, I was surprised. Laser? Why are you here? She gave me a big smile. Nexus was disappointed that you didn't tell him you were heading to Stable 28. When he heard Doorstop was going to bring you to Stable 97, he figured it would be a good excuse to send me with you to see what happened in that dreadful place. Easy. The Enclave killed every pony? That's what Stardust said. Why are you really here? I asked. She sighed and shrugged. I told Nexus I could join you, so we could learn more about 97. Though I don't plan on going there myself. I just want an excuse to get away for a while. He doesn't need me much now that he's in Frosty Summit, and I need a vacation. Besides, I can only take that whiny voice of his for so long. He's always talking about how he'll have to start a new life on his what does he call them? Games? Honestly, I've never figured out how a pony his age can waste so much time on those things. And with a brain, or what hasn't already withered away, like his too. Aura rolled her eyes. I asked her why she'd be coming at all if she's not going to be in the stable to help us, but she wouldn't answer me. I'm guessing that you don't want a pony from that area to recognize you? She nodded. That's part of it. But I also heard something about the settlement just outside the Enclave-controlled area that takes in Dashites and ponies who are looking to get away from the Enclave's control. I want to look into it and see if there's any pony there that I know, and maybe I can talk them into going to Frosty Summit. Violet needs more ponies to help make sure the old lodge feels more like a town. You know I could use all the help I could get. Are you sure you don't want to help us with the stable? I asked. I'm confused. Why would any pony from that area know who Laser is? Wingnut asked. She rolled her eyes. looking around to make sure nobody was listening, then said,
Because I'm a Pegasus who should have died 12 years ago. I'll do whatever I can to keep that fact I'm alive a secret. It's bad enough that Doorstop figured it out so quick.
He boomed out a laugh.
I may be a loudmouth sergeant, but I ain't stupid. I know a former Enclave soldier when I see one.
Did you have to yell that so loud?
She asked, looking over at the former drill sergeant.
That's all well and good, but can we give the reason we're all here?
Or asked. With every pony stopped talking, she continued.
I already talked with Laserlight and Sergeant Doorstop about what's going on. They both know the wasteland is like outside of New Pegasus. You three don't.
It can't be that much different than it is here, I said.
Ha! Far from it. The New Pegasus area is nothing compared to what you'll see when we go east. For one, you'll have to watch out for radiation more than we do here. The monsters you'll see are bigger, meaner, and deadly as hell. You'll see things like hellhounds more often. You've seen what Rar could do, and he was the only hellhound. A big fucking hellhound. But he was still just one. If we run into a pack of them, we won't stop to fight them. We run. Simple as that. Also alicorns. They're nothing like Violet. But we'll need to be a lot closer to where the so-called goddess is said to live. Their alicorns might be a problem. We have to do anything we can to avoid running into them. If you see one, tell me right away so we can get away.
Laser followed.
We also need to watch out for taint. You don't see it much out here, but the closer we get to the Midwest, the more it's going to be a problem. If you see the thing that looks like rainbow liquid, don't touch it. Good point, Aura said. Lastly, we're heading to a city where everything is controlled by the Enclave. Winnepolis and Saints Parish, also known as the Twin Cities to the ponies in that area, will be crawling with Enclave soldiers and spies. We have to do our best to keep a low profile. Traders and caravans are allowed in the city at times, but they check every pony who comes in. We'll have to think of a plan to get in and around the cities without getting caught.
We'll do that while we travel, I said. Right now, we need to make sure we're fully stocked up with food, meds, and ammo before we leave.
Sounds good to me. I'll go get the medical stuff we'll need. Wingnut and Doorstop should go get us the ammo. I'll leave the food to Laser and Wind Thrasher,
Aura said. What about me?
You're coming with me while they get things ready.
Boxtape finally spoke up.
I need to go over a few things with you before you head out.
Okay, sounds good to me. We both went back to the Equestrian Express, and as we walked in, I took in the old building. When I was last here, I was still new to the wasteland, a young mare with big ideas on going out to find her mother. Now I was experienced, knew what I was doing and how fucked up the wasteland could be. Going back into Equestrian Express almost felt like I was walking back into that old version of myself. For a moment, I wished that were true. Maybe, with what I knew now, I could change things. Stop Silver from dying, keep Appleton safe. There was so much I wished I could change, but it was just a dream.
You look like you seen a ghost shadow,
Boxtape said as he shut the door behind himself. Not a ghost, just thinking about all the stuff that's happened since I was last here.
I know what you mean. There's plenty of times that I wish I could change things I've done in the past,
he said, walking around the corner and sitting on a stool. Like what? I asked. He sighed.
Oh, things like being a better father to my children, never joining the Steel Rangers, not taking the role as elder, letting White Oak go out on her own for that last mission.
But you can't change things, huh?
No, you can't. But we're ponies. We can't help ourselves to think. What if I could just fix that one thing, and everything would be different? The sad part is, even if you could change the past, it doesn't mean things would be better. You have to learn from your past and use that knowledge to do better,
he said, giving me a tired smile. I sat next to him on the other side of the counter, leaning up against the wall. Silver Snips. He interrupted me.
I already know.
I looked at him. How could you already know what happened to her? His face grew somber, and I saw sorrow in his eyes.
I got a report from one of the Red Talons a few days ago. I've been keeping an eye on you and your friends, either through the Talons or the radio. I told her not to go with you, you know.
Why'd you do that?
She wanted to start up her mother's old trading contacts. And she was hoping she'd run into you again. You were all she talked about after you left. She wanted to find you for a while. When I found out she did, I told her to not go because it was too dangerous. I wasn't wrong either. In the end, I'm glad she did, even if she did pass away. She finally got out of this town and got to do what she wanted.
You really cared about her, didn't you? He smiled.
I did. When her mother died, I kind of took her under my wing and kept an eye on her. I think deep down I wanted to be the father figure to her that I was never able to be for my own daughter. The funny thing is, just like Vervain, she left too and ignored my advice.
I reached into my saddlebags and pulled out the recording she left for me and gave it to Box Tape. She left this for me before she died. Hearing it helped me to cope with her death, at least a little. I want you to have it. He looked down at the recording.
Ah, you sure you don't want to keep this? She meant it to be for you.
I nodded. I heard it already. And I remember every word. I'd rather you have it so you can understand how she felt, even when she was going to die. He set the recorder down and sniffed while wiping his eyes.
I'll treasure it for the rest of my days. Thank you.
For a long moment, I didn't say anything. My eyes were locked on a single board that was slightly raised compared to the rest. I used my magic to pull it up, revealing a small area where a worn-out note was resting over some covered cloth. Still here. Box Tape looked down at the note that had the words "For my little star" on it.
Holy damn, girl. How'd you know that was there?
Memory orb of my mom's. The day she came to talk to you about sending something to Wolfsbane, you went off to get some Sparkle Cola. When you did, she lifted this board up and put this here for me. I replied, lifting the note and cloth slowly from it. At first, I thought it'd be another memory orb, tucked away so I could find it one day, but it wasn't. When I pulled the cloth off, I saw it was one of the Ministry Mare statues. A purple unicorn with a single hoof raised and a message under it that said, "Be smart."
Is that a statuette of Twilight Sparkle?
He asked. I didn't answer him right away. As soon as my magic wrapped around it, I felt the same kind of feeling I did with the other two. Only this one made me feel like my mind opened up. Things seemed clearer to me, almost like the statuette of Twilight made me feel a bit smarter, something I definitely needed to do right now. Yeah. I wonder why she left this for me.
I've heard about him before, but never in all my years have I come across one.
This is the third one I found now. He looked at me with shock.
3? Damn! I knew you were lucky, but not that lucky.
I don't know about that, but I feel like they're calling to each other. It's like the Ministry Mares want to be together again, I said.
Who knows? If you found 3, you might just find them all.
Maybe. I opened the note Mom left for me with the statue. Shadow. If you found this, then you made it out of the stable safe and sound. At least I hope you did. I'm not sure when you'll find this, or what you know so far about what's going on. I'm leaving this for you just after leaving Stable 28. If by some chance the old postmaster found this and gave it to you, then you should know a couple of things. I'm safe and alive. I'm heading back to the Steel Ranger bunkers in Hidden Sands. I have a few more things I need to finish before I can continue on my quest. I won't be staying there long. By the time you're out of the stable, I'm sure I'll be long gone by then. Finding me isn't going to be easy, but I'm trying to leave you as many clues as I can. If I said everything right, you should have gotten your memories back when you found the Mark II. If not, then they'll start coming back to you as you go around the wasteland. Don't worry, you'll understand sooner or later. Just give it time. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why I left you the statuette of Twilight Sparkle. Well, it's because when I was younger, I found it in an old library, not far from where I grew up. Twilight was a pony that I always looked up to and wanted to be like. You may find it hard to believe, but I was terrible at magic when I was a filly. I was so bad that my parents treated me like I was scum. I tried everything I could to learn magic, but every teacher I had to learn it from never helped. It wasn't until I found the statuette of Twilight that I started reading spell books on my own and learning on my own. That's how I got my cutie mark. I couldn't just watch another unicorn use a spell and learn how to do it. I needed to learn how the spell was structured, how it flowed, and what made the spell work. When I started learning from the books, magic became easy. It was all because of Twilight. I'm giving her to you in the hope that she'll help you like she helped me. Maybe not in magic, but hopefully in intellect. You're no longer a stable pony, my little star. You're a wastelander. And you have to think like one. But you'll also need to be smarter than the ponies in the wasteland. You're smarter than you know. Don't be scared to show others who you are. I have faith in you. I always have. I know one day you may end up meeting a branch of the Steel Rangers that we used to live with. If you do, the Elder may not believe. You are my daughter. You do look different from how you did back then, and I'll be telling them you died. The only way to keep you safe for now. But when you meet them, and if they try to tell you that you aren't my daughter, don't believe them. You're always my little star, my morning star, my shadow star. Don't let any pony tell you otherwise. The Twilight I'm giving you is a set of 6. I was only ever able to find just the one. But if you can, keep an eye out for the rest. If any pony can find them all, it's you, little star. The last thing I need to warn you about is if you run into a pony going by the name of Nightshade, stay away from him. He'll try telling you things to get you to trust him, but don't believe him. He's been hunting us for years. He'll do anything to take you away from me. Now go out there and make me proud. I can't wait to see the pony you've become. I love you, Mom. When I finished the note, I smiled and placed on my saddlebags. So, what did you really want to talk to me about? He sighed. Apart from helping Stardust, why are you going to Saint's Parish? I looked up at him, confused. Why else would I be going there? I know that you got the sky carriage from one of them Steel Rangers. What does Wolfsbane want you to do? He asked, his tone getting serious. He wants me to put an end to what they're doing in Stable 97 for good. He said something about abuse of technology. I replied. Yeah, that's what all Steel Rangers say right before they take that technology for themselves. You'd best be careful. You can't let that kind of tech fall into Wolfsbane's hooves. Don't get me wrong, I'm a proud sentinel, but I ain't no technology hoarder. Wolfsbane might seem like he's doing the Wasteland a favor, but I'm sure he's got something planned for what's going on inside of Stable 97, he said. Everything is so goddesses damn complicated all the time. Don't trust this pony, don't kill that pony. Life sucks. What am I supposed to do then? If I destroy the machine or whatever the fuck it is, he'll suspect something. What I mean is, if I destroy the machine, he'll be angry and probably do something. But if I don't destroy it, he could use the technology to do something 10 times worse. Of course, what the hell could he use it for other than screwing with a pony's head? He looked lost in thought for a moment. I heard something about Las Olacorn having a synth problem. He could use that machine to detect synths in his ranks if he used it right away. I agree that the creation of an artificial pony like the Ministry does is just plain stupid and malicious. But in all my years, I've learned to put myself in some pony else's horseshoes. If he does have synths among his ranks and they don't know what they are, it could start making every pony in his garrison not trust each other. Why would he want to cause mass paranoia, though? That's the real question, if that's what he's planning. Interesting. But that's gotta be more complex than that. He asked me if I wanted to join him in the Steel Rangers, and I refused. What if he wants to use the technology in Stable 97 to rewrite the memories of civilians and forcefully make them join so he has more firepower against the Ministry? I asked. He rubbed his chin. That makes sense. But he's a tried-and-true Steel Ranger. He wouldn't go against their core values like that. In the Steel Rangers, if you abuse technology the way your enemies do, then you might as well be your own worst enemy. That's a quote from our founder. Yep, he's tried and true, all right. By the way, what does ad Victoriam mean? I asked, remembering the thing Wolfsbane and some other hidden sand Steel Rangers do. Bah! He waved his hoof.
That's just some gimmick he picked up from old Steel Ranger records. It's supposed to mean to victory, but to me it sounds more like half-assed salute created by an old ranger with too much time on his hooves.
I sort of mumbled under my breath. Doesn't seem like a gimmick.
You best not be sassing me now,
he said quickly. Shit, he heard me. No, I'm not, I promise. They're always so enthusiastic about it all the time. He smiled.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Anyhow, I should probably tell you about the dangers of the wasteland beyond the Moerve.
I interrupted. My friends already told me about the taint and there being more radiation, not to mention monsters.
Did they tell you about innovation? If you find yourself in the hoof, you'll need to know more about that,
he said.
Great.
More dangerous stuff. Like the wasteland couldn't get worse. No, they didn't say anything about that. What is it? I responded. He rested his hooves on the counter and sighed.
Well, it's a bit difficult to explain. Something about a high concentration of energy draining fields that can literally liquefy a pony if it's concentrated enough.
That didn't sound hard to explain. Basically, something that turns ponies into a pile of mushy goo because the wasteland just isn't bad enough, I said.
Yeah, it ain't that simple. It could be anywhere. You could be walking into an innovation field without even knowing it until it's too late, and you're the perfect fill-in for meat pie,
he explained. Meat pie? Gross. Sometimes your euphemisms are both disgusting and disturbing. Who the fuck eats pony meat?
There's some ponies out there that'll eat other ponies. Most of the time it's raiders, but some ponies cannibalize to survive and get addicted to it like it's a drug,
he replied. I take it that's another thing to look out for? I asked. He waved his hoof.
Nah, mostly just with raiders. There is something I heard about recently, though, out in the hoof. Some sort of disease that's causing ponies to go mad and turn cannibal. Let's just say the hoof is a dangerous place, and y'all should never go there unless you have to.
I'll take your word on that. Anyhow, I should get going unless there's something else you wanted to tell me, I said, getting up.
There is one thing. None of the factions you know from around here settle in the area, except for maybe a few Steel Rangers. There's a lot of enclave, though. The whole area is controlled by them. It's not like a major enclave settlement, so they won't be everywhere, but there will be quite a few patrols around the more metropolitan parts of the city there, especially close to the lock-in dam,
he said in a more serious tone. I gave him a puzzled look. What's a lock-in dam? He rubbed his forehead with a hoof.
There's a river that goes from northern to southern Equestria that separates Winnapolis and Saints Parish. On that river is a dam that generates power, and attached to it is a chamber that boats go into when they get into the dam and need to go further down the river. They enter the chamber at one side of the dam, and the doors close. The water then raises or lowers to bring the boat up or down so they can keep going. There ain't an easier way to explain it, but that place is a major source of energy for the Enclave. They'll do anything to protect it.
Oh, okay then. Interesting, I guess. Can't believe I didn't know what that was, I responded.
You young'uns don't know nothing half the time. I'm used to it. You wouldn't believe the things Ravane didn't know when she was younger,
he remarked. They can wait a few more minutes. This could be embarrassing to Ravane, and I'll have something to hold over her. Like what?
I think that's something best saved for another time,
he replied. Damn it! I just had to say I needed to leave. All right, until next time then. Don't get into anything you can't handle. Not as young as you think you are. Or at least that's what Ravane says. He scoffed.
Ha! I'll be fine, and she's full of it. Anyhow, safe travels, Shadow. I'll see about getting some jobs lined up for you when...
I returned to the sky carriage to find that Doorstop wasn't wearing his armor. Where'd your armor go, Doorstop? He turned and gave me a look.
That's Sergeant Doorstop to you, and the runt took it. He said he's going to do things to it. I swear if he bedazzles that armor, I will skin him alive.
I don't think he'd do something like that. If anything, he'll make the armor better, like he did with mine, I retorted.
He's a kid. Kids do stupid stuff. But if he really doesn't prove it, then he'll be upgraded from runt to grunt. You know, while training the cadets in the stable, I caught 2 of them that snuck off to try and spark up some sissy stroggy next to some barrels of gunpowder.
Okay, putting that all aside, is everyone ready to go here? I asked.
As long as the runt's done tinkering with my armor, then no problem,
Doorstop said. Wingnut poked his head in from the sky carriage.
I'll be finished with it later.
Give it back, runt!
Doorstop boomed. Wingnut stuck his tongue out at the old drill sergeant, then slammed the door of the carriage. I laughed. Don't worry, you'll get it back soon. Right now, we need to figure out who's pulling the sky carriage.
I'm a bodyguard, not a taxi,
Aura remarked. I guess that rules out Aura. How about you, Doorstop? Think you can do it?
Can I pull a sky carriage? Who do you think you're talking to?
He asked with an offended look.
I can pull that thing from here to Manhattan and back.
Works for me. Let's get going. I don't want to wait here any longer than we have to, I said, walking to the sky carriage.
Before we go, I have one question,
Windthresher said before we could step into the sky carriage. I sighed. What?
How are we going to get the Sins to follow us?
Easy. I'm sure one of the radio ponies will say where I'm going in the next couple of days.
That plan seems kind of sketchy,
Aura said. Trust me, they'll find us. They always seem to know where I'm at, I said, getting into the sky carriage. Laserlight, Aura, and Windthresher followed me, and Doorstop hooked up to the front of it and opened his wings, and we were off.
Aura! Give it back!
Wingnut yelled, trying and failing to take back one of his screwdrivers.
No, not until you apologize for asking me if I lay eggs.
It's a perfectly legitimate question, Aura,
Windthresher said.
Not when it comes to how my body works,
Aura retorted.
but I want to know.
Wingnut said.
Too bad I'm not answering that question for you. If you really want to know, then ask another griffin, or pick up a fucking book,
she said, moving across the sky carriage to sit next to me.
She just doesn't want to answer because she won't ever have a kid of her own,
Wingnut said, glaring over at her. She threw the screwdriver at him. It hit him in the side, getting a satisfying yelp of pain from the little shit.
Hey, that hurts.
Pain's the price you pay for asking where baby griffins come from,
she yelled.
You didn't have to throw it at me. And I know where pony foals come from, just not griffin babies,
He said, then looked over at Windthrasher.
Do you know? What I read, they lay eggs,
She said simply.
Why couldn't you answer his question then?
Aura asked, glaring over at Windthrasher.
I wanted to see if you'd answer him.
Laserlight was giggling softly from her side of the sky carriage, looking out and down at the window, assumingly watching the ground zoom past or resting her hoof on it. You all do this a lot. This kind of thing has been going on for hours now. Wingnut would say or do something offensive. Aura and I would get pissed off and fight, normally ending with Aura taking something from Wingnut, because there's nothing funnier than watching the Colt beg to get his tools back. I wouldn't say we do this a lot, but yeah, it happens from time to time. When my friends and I have downtime, we get bored and start picking on each other. It was a lot worse when Stardust was still with us, I replied. She looked thoughtful for a moment, still gazing out the window. You know, I've had to hide my wings for so long, Shadow, I've forgotten what the ground looks like from the sky. If you can get past most of the sickly green haze, the landscape can actually be quite beautiful. Care to see? I just shook my head. You know what, Laser? That actually sounds like a good idea. I walked over to where Laserlight was sitting. She moved aside and allowed me to see out the window. Laser was right. Underneath the haze, there was beauty. I saw mountains that seemed endless, rivers cutting through the mountains, years of chiseling through rock, creating massive canyons, and years of rainfall creating lakes either before megaspells or craters made the megaspells. Upon looking at the landscape, I felt peace at once for my life. Turning around, looking at Laserlight, I smiled. Thank you for showing me that, Laser. It really put my mind at ease, if only for a moment. Laser smiled back.
It's really no trouble, Shadow. It's always been best to take in some time to relax.
Laura started poking me with a talon.
Stop that. I hate being poked,
I said angrily. She poked me again.
Make me stop.
Okay, I will,
I said, digging my saddlebags, pulling out the box with Mom's memory orbs.
I'm going to watch one of these, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It won't stop me from poking you,
Aura said with a grin.
At least it won't bother me. Poke away,
I said, concentrating my magic on the second orb in the box. Before my friends could respond, the world melted away. My host was easy to identify. I was getting used to Mom's body by now. That sounds a little weird now that I think about it. She was walking down the street of Cloud City. She was standing on a cloud looking at a large city above the clouds. Pegasi were flying around buildings, and a couple unicorns were chatting with each other just outside of one of the structures, also standing in the clouds like it was normal. It was odd because Mom felt younger than she had in her older memories. Was this before she left the Enclave then? I guess I'd find out. She was looking around at some of the Pegasi flying, like she was looking for some pony.
He said to meet him at noon. What could take him so long?
She said as she waited next to the store.
Excuse me, ma'am. You look like you're lost.
A sort of charming voice said from above her. Mom looked up at a Pegasus who was flying just above her. He was very handsome, with an aquamarine coat and a light brown mane that was kept short and flipped back. His eyes. They were emerald green, just like the stranger. She smiled and blushed a little.
Striker, you really have to tease me like that.
He flew down and kissed her for a long moment. My mom melting into her kiss. Gross. Why would you show me this memory, Mom? When she pulled away, he laughed.
I love surprising you, Grim. I just couldn't help myself.
I could feel Mom blushing more as she giggled and looked at her hooves. What if some pony saw us? You know what they'd say.
I don't care what other ponies say. Let them talk,
he replied, pulling her into a gentle embrace. She took a moment to finally hug him back, her smile growing. I know that, but my family isn't liked up here at Nimbus. Normally, I couldn't even come up here unless I was working on something with the research team.
Well, not today.
Today, you get to see the city without having to worry about work. That's why I had you join me, he said, wrapping a ring around her and leading her down the street. Mom was looking at the buildings as they walked. I've always loved how beautiful the city was, and it's nice to see the sun. I had to agree, even though this was in a memory from a long time ago, seeing the sun after the war was just beautiful. The sight of it made me hate the Enclave even more for hiding such beauty away from the rest of us. I also realized something as they talked. Stryker. He was the Dashite Mom went to find in Hoofington. Vervain said that he was my uncle. Ew. Not only did I have to kiss some random stallion in my mom's body, but he was my uncle? Or was he? Fuck, Mom! Why can't you just give it to me straight? You know, I love spending time with you on your days off. But why did you have me come all the way up here to Nimbus? She asked as they kept walking down the street.
He grinned at her. Do you remember the other day when you were telling me about your information you found in the old library?
Yes, the one about the Children of the Night and some projects they were working on before the war ended. What about it?
Well, I figured I'd show you something that no one upon the Enclave knows about.
Mom's eyes went wide. You'd trust me with something like that? He laughed again.
I love you, Grim, you know that.
I'd trust you with my life.
In fact, I'm doing just that by showing you what I have.
They turned a corner down an alley. Stryker bringing them to a door that was mostly hidden in the darkness. There was a keypad next to it, and he quickly typed in some numbers before Mom could reach him. When she did open the door, he waved her inside.
What's with all the secrecy, anyway? What's the big deal with the information you found about the children?
Most of the stories about them are greatly exaggerated. He shut the door behind them, locking it as soon as the door clicked. The room wasn't very big, and it was filled with papers. The room had one terminal on an overcrowded desk, and a mattress on the floor with a few scraps of cloth lying around it. That's the thing, Grim, he said as he walked past her to log into the terminal. I don't think they were. I believe that the stories we know about them are only half-truths and lies. What I've been finding out about them, looks like they were even worse than the stories say they were. Mom walked over to the terminal as Stryker began bringing up files. Well, I read in the old reports I found in the library we discovered. It said something about them being led by an Equestrian military captain named Nightstalker. When I looked him up in all the archives, all I could find was that he was one of the ponies who helped start the Enclave back in the day. There are also a few things about him starting the Dashite program and a few other small things. They also say he went crazy and branded himself. He vanished after that and was never to be heard from again. Stryker stopped, then looked up at Mom. It's all true, but the records were wiped or classified on the rest. He did lead the children, as you said, but not much is told about them, apart from some old crap about them being a guard unit. The truth I've found, some memory orbs and records that were missed. It looks like his team was under Princess Luna herself. They started a few projects before the war ended, one of which is still a closely held secret to the top of the council. Mom shrugged. So what? We all know that they kept a lot of things secret from the rest of the populace. And they do it because most of the ponies can't handle that kind of information. Grim, you don't understand. The thing they've been hiding from us isn't just some knowledge about some bad things ponies did before the war. This is some kind of super weapon. At least I think it is, he said, pulling up the schematics. Mom looked at the screen and started to study it. I didn't understand a single thing she was looking at. Most of it was just strange-looking drawings, numbers, and charts. But one thing in the corner of the schematic popped out at me. Project Stargazer. When her eyes fell on that part of the project, she gasped. This can't be real. What's the point in trying to pull power from a star? That's like some kind of zebra mythology being put down on a spell. Stars are just hot balls of flame burning gas light years away from Equus. They don't have magic. According to the notes I have from a mare called Minette, that's what she thought it was too. But she started to dig deeper into zebra lore and found some interesting things. What she was able to discover led to this project. They tried to use it a few years before the bombs. The project was ever eventually put down as a failure. But in her notes, she wrote down that they made something down in this lab. Something evil and powerful. They locked it up and hid it away from the rest of Equestria. But they didn't end their project there. They just changed it. They wanted to use what they learned to weaponize this power and use it against the zebras. Mom kept on looking at the schematics. If they did, then why did we lose the war? I don't know yet. I'm not done looking into this. But just seeing this proves that there's something bigger going on. Minette was one of the members of the children. She worked with Nightstalker and Luna. What if they did finish this project, but not in time to finish the zebra attack? He asked. If they did, then wouldn't the Enclave have used it by now to put an end to the shit going down on the surface? If this thing is so bad, then why'd they let groups of the Steel Rangers exist? She asked, looking down from the terminal and into his emerald green eyes. He waved a hoof in the air, then looked away. I don't know. It still needs to be looked into. Mom sighed, then pulled him close into her, hugging him tight. Why are you so bothered by this? I wanted to know more about the Children of the Night, not the projects they were working on. If this thing is really out there, then they would have used it by now. Don't let it get to you so much. He took a minute to breathe before he finally hugged Mom back. I know, Grim, but it just scares me. I found other notes on the project, and one of them said something about bringing back Nightmare Moon. What kind of pony would even think that's a good idea? Desperate ponies who want to save Equestria. You should know by now that theories are just that, she replied. Sometimes theories turn out to be true. I mean, look at you. You told ponies for years that, with the right kind of magic, unicorns could mix their own magic with that of zebras, making them more powerful. They all laughed at you till you proved them wrong. he said, finally pulling out of her embrace. That was different. I worked hard to make that kind of magic work for me. And I am still the only unicorn who can do it. That could be because my special talent was arcane spellcraft. I always had trouble with simple spells, but when I mix them together for other things, I can make things that should be easy or hard look like it's simple as breathing. All it takes is just hard work. A smokescreen to hide my true ability with magic, which, as you know, isn't that great. She retorted. Say what you will, but I know for a fact that you're a great unicorn. Even if the other unicorns down in the Crystal Empire say that's all tricks and gimmicks, he said with a smile. She giggled and blushed. Why do you always have to tease me, Striker? Because you're my special sun pony, he said with an even bigger smile. Mom blushed even more and then started looking around the small room at the papers and even the few memory orbs sitting next to the strange-looking device. It looked like it was meant to be worn on a pony's head. It was a place that looked like it'd be fit for a memory orb perfectly. Where'd you get all this anyway? His face fell. I can't tell you that, Grim. Is this part of that family secret you told me about before? He asked. He nodded. I wish I could tell you, but I can't. Even showing this could get me into a deep shit with my father. He's already threatening to disown me if I keep looking deeper into the children. And that's why I'm keeping all this here. Why would he do that? She asked again, prying a bit. You know how my father is. He's already disappointed that I ended up as a researcher instead of a soldier like my brother. Mom sighed, and I could feel her ears droop a little. Why is it such a big deal, anyway? You're better at research than you are at fighting. If it wasn't for you changing careers like you did, I wouldn't have met you again. A mare like me from the Empire would have never have been able to see such beautiful things like Nimbus if it wasn't for you either. I'm glad you're the pony you are. He smiled again. I wish my father saw it that way. He's always going on about things my brother does. How good he is at combat training, the pony he'll become one day. It's like I don't even exist. Mom laughed. I understand that better than any pony. Oh yeah. I almost forgot about Oricalis. But at least you two get along, he said. That's true, my brother is a kind stallion. Not like your brother. We were in class together in school. He was always a hard-headed ass. Did you know that when I told him I was working with you, he told me to stay away? Striker said with a laugh. Why? He asked. I think he had a crush on you or something. I tried to talk to him about it, but he hit me and ran away, he replied. Mom started to laugh. At least you two have one thing in common. Like what? He asked, looking clueless. He can't really be that dumb, can he? You both can't resist a silly unicorn like me, she said with a smile. He moved close and kissed her again. Well, how could we? You're a special mare, Grim. You always will be. I just happened to win you over first. He blushingly smiled. Mom laughed. Special enough for you to tell me more about this family secret of yours? He pulled away again, then started to run a hoof over his mane. I don't know, Grim. Like I said, if my father found out, he'd be more than pissed. Well, we'll just have to make sure he doesn't find out, she said mischievously. He sighed. How do you do that? Fine. But you have to promise me that you won't say anything to any pony. I mean that, Grim. He'll be pissed if he finds out. I'm not kidding. I'm sure he can deal with his rage if he finds out, she teased. No, Grim. He'll kill both of us for keeping this secret from getting out, he said solemnly. That's silly. He may be an asshole, but he wouldn't resort to murder, she said in disbelief. Striker didn't smile. He killed his brother and his sister when they found out. They were going to tell others about it. I mean it, Grim. If you really want to know, it has to stay between us. Mom stopped her teasing. You really aren't kidding, are you? No, I'm not. I love you, Grim. I don't want to see you get hurt. I also know that you won't stop digging until you get the answers you're looking for. That's why I'll tell you. But it has to stay between us. Okay. I won't tell a soul, cross my heart, hope to fly, stick a cupcake in my eye, she said. I can't believe my mother knew that kind of promise. I still think it's ridiculous. But it looked like Striker calmed down from that. Guess it really is serious. He closed his eyes, took in a deep breath, and let it out slowly. It all started a little after the war, when the Enclave was being started. As Stryker started to tell my mom whatever it was that his family kept secret, the memory started to fade. I came out of the memory orb and opened my eyes slowly, looking around the sky carriage. No pony was in it, and we weren't flying anymore. I stretched, then got up, poking my head out the door and saw Wind Thrasher sitting next to the sky carriage. Where is everyone? She looked up at me.
The wingnut's under the sky carriage, replacing the spark battery. You've been out for a little while, and it was starting to run low. The others are scouting the area, looking for what we can salvage from this old building we landed on.
I told them it wouldn't take me long to change out the battery!
Wingnut yelled from under us.
I stayed behind to keep an eye on you and Wingnut,
She said. I stretched again and sighed to sit next to her. Where are we, anyway?
Doorstop said we're in a pre-war city that's never been resettled. He said we're still quite a distance from our destination.
I sighed again. This is the part I knew I'd hate. Long, boring traveling.
At least you can go into those memory orbs to help pass time. Think about what it's like for the rest of us.
True. But I'm finding out that sometimes it's not fun to relive memory orbs. One I was just in, I said, shuddering. I had to be inside my mom's body while she made out with an old flame of hers, who I believe was my uncle. A memory orb she left for me to watch. That's all kind of twisted. I'm not going to forget that for a long-ass time. Wind Thrasher laughed a little.
I've heard about worse things, and read worse things.
Oh yeah? Like what? I asked.
One of my books is a taboo story between two lovers who were step-siblings, or so they thought. It turned out they were, in fact, half-siblings that fell in love and tried to hide it from the world.
I looked at her, my mouth open wide. You're all kinds of messed up.
It's just a story, and a little exciting at the same time. There's something forbidden about forbidden love. It's just so interesting to read and impossible to put down once you start,
She said, looking as if she had a tiny twinkle in her eye. Yeah, and it's gross, I said quickly.
Maybe in reality, but in story not so much,
She retorted.
Ew! Can you please stop talking about your dirty porn novels, please?
Wingnut said from under the sky carriage. She blushed.
Sorry, Wingnut. So, anyway, if your mom was with your uncle back then, how did she end up with your father?
I'm not sure. For all I know, this Stryker fella could be my father. Ray was the one who told me he was my uncle, but she also told me a lot of other lies over the years. Even possible that Mom told Ravane that he was my uncle. I have no idea. If he's the Stryker I know, then he can't be your father, Shadow, I heard Laserlight say. She landed next to us, pulling her wings back under her flight jacket. What do you mean? It makes sense. From what I saw, my mom and him were in love, I said. She sat down next to me.
That may have been true.
But Stryker became a Dashite before you were born. I remember because they made a big deal out of the whole thing. They said that he killed his father one day after they both had a fight. Then he fled to New Pegasus. He was hunted down and branded a traitor instead of being executed. He told me a few things about that after what happened when I saw him a few years ago. I remember you saying something about him before. Didn't you say he died? I asked.
Yeah,
I was helping him with some mission. He was a little south of Manhattan. We got into a nasty fight with some Steel Rangers. Kind of ironic for me, honestly, considering I was fighting an old faction I was a part of. Then, again, this was back east. He took a bad shot to the wing and couldn't fly. Tried to help him get away, but he told me to run. I didn't want to, but he was a hard pony to refuse. I just got away before he was caught in a bad explosion. Something came to me as I started to put something together. Are you sure he died? She gave me a serious look. Shadow, he was in the middle of an explosion. You don't live through things like that. My ears drooped a little. I guess you're right. What I just saw when I saw him in the memory orb, his eyes looked just like the ones on the stranger. The who? She asked. Oh, yeah. I forgot you were knocked out during most of the fight at Frosty Summit. Laser looked away for a moment, her face red, a mix of disappointment and embarrassment.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Shadow. That stupid bitch with the cloak caught me off guard.
I shook my head and looked away as well. Sorry, Laser. Sometimes my mouth runs a little faster than my mind. Wingnut chimed in from under the sky carriage.
It's true. She calls me a little shit sometimes without thinking about my feelings.
My eyes narrowed at Wingnut, despite him not seeing it. Anyways, he's a pony that keeps showing up to help me. I think he knew my mom, and he swore to protect me for some reason. He's also wearing a trench coat and a desperado hat. His body's covered head to hoof to bandages. The only part of him I've seen is his emerald green eyes. I explained.
He's not the only pony that has green eyes, you know,
Windthrasher said. I know, but I've never seen eyes like those before, I said, scratching my head. What if the stranger is Striker? It would make sense. Who else would be protecting me from my mom? Laserlight put a hoof on my shoulder.
I saw him get caught in the explosion. He couldn't have survived that. Nobody could. I know you want to know more about what's going on around you, Shadow. You can't just guess, though. You have to find out the truth. As for Striker, he's dead. It took me a long time to accept that.
I guess I just hoped that some part of my family was still alive, even if he was branded and sent down from his home, I said, feeling a little let down. Windthrasher smiled.
Shadow, you're our family.
I smiled back at her and hugged her. Yeah, I guess you're right. Thanks, Windthrasher. Wingnut pulled himself out from under the sky carriage and looked up at us. His coat was filthy from whatever he was doing under there.
Why are you always so girly?
Oh, shut up, I said, poking him with my hoof and smiling. You're a filthy kid. He looked down at himself and shrugged.
Oh well, can't do anything about it right now.
I giggled and looked past him and saw Aura and Doorstop flying back. Looks like the others are back. Are we good to go, Wingnut?
Yeah, the other spark battery wasn't fully charged when we left. That's why it didn't last as long as it should have. Box tape gave us a few fully charged ones before we left. The new one should get us all the way to Saints Parish, or at least close,
he replied, putting the rest of his tools away. Hey, kiddo, where did you get those tools at anyway? I don't remember you having them before, I asked.
Stolen from Stable 28's R&D department before we left. They had plenty,
he said simply. I face-hoofed. I don't know if I should be shocked, disappointed, or impressed. You're not only a perv, but a thief too. What a great role model I am. He walked past me into the sky carriage.
Impressed would be what I'd go with. You know how hard it was to sneak this much stuff past the security ponies in your old stable?
Yes, I did, but I wasn't going to tell him that. Instead, I waited for Aura and Doorstop to land. I asked what they found, and they told me they didn't find much but apart from some spare ammo and meds that we could use again. And maybe a few scraps we could use later. Doorstop hooked up to the sky carriage and we were off again. We all took some time to eat and try to plan out what to do next upon arrival at our destination. After some time went by, I was starting to get bored again. I think I'm going to go in another orb. I need to catch up on the memory orbs I've allotted. I had a feeling this is going to be a long flight, I said. Laserlight sighed a little.
I never could understand what those memory orbs are all about. Ran into a few of them, but could never use them. Nothing beats good old recording, in my opinion.
I had to ask. Do you have any?
Probably have some of my saddlebags that I can give you. But you wouldn't have to give me time to look around. Most of the stuff I have, I left with Nexus.
I shook a moment to think.
Oh, I know. While you're in the next memory orb, I can scrounge around for them.
Great to know, Laser. Thank you. I think I'll go ahead and jump into the next one now. Feel free. I'm going to try and read through one of Windthrasher's books, Aura said casually. Or take a nap, whichever comes first.
You know, a book would be a nice change of pace. Not that I don't mind looking down at the ground whizzing beneath us. But I can only look at it for so long, Laser added.
Why don't you try flying this thing instead of being a lazy-ass griffin?
Doorstop boomed from the front of the sky carriage.
And where's my armor, runt?
We ignored him. Aura looking over at me and asking, Are you gonna watch the last one your mother left for you? No, she said it was very long, and I don't want to be stuck in here if something happens. I'll try watching one of them that I got from the stranger, or the one I stole from Mr. Tops.
You stole from Mr. Tops?
Wingnut asked. Well, yeah. I don't see why he'd need an old memory orb, I said, defending myself.
And you're still alive? How the fuck did you get away with that?
He asked, looking at me like I was some kind of great thief. It wasn't as hard as you think, kiddo, I said, pulling the green and silver orb I snatched from Mr. Tops's office. I just hope this isn't a disgusting one.
Yeah, I do. It'd be funny to watch you while you're viewing it.
Aura snickered. I just rolled my eyes and concentrated my magic on the orb. I felt a connection, but the world didn't melt away like the others. Instead, I heard the voice of Nightstalker in my head.
What is my name?
Huh? This is the first time a memory orb talked to me. Name? Nightstalker? Those looked at me like I was crazy.
What did you say, Shadow?
Laser asked. Before I could answer, I heard Nightstalker's voice again.
Wrong!
A jolt of electricity ran from my horn and through my body, throwing me back to the side of the carriage.
Holy shit! What the fuck was that?
Wingnut asked, coming over to help me to my hooves. Ow? I don't know. When I tried to view the orb, it asked me a question. It was the voice of Nightstalker, and he asked what his name was. I replied as I moved back to look at the green orb.
Yeah, it's protected. Whatever's in that memory orb looks like Nightstalker wanted to make sure no pony got into it unless they knew him well enough.
Aura said. I didn't answer it wrong. His name's Nightstalker, I said, confused. Aura shook her head.
No, it's not. From what I learned from Tonto about him, that was a name he chose for himself. Most ponies didn't know his real name. He hated being called by it and made sure every pony called him Nightstalker.
I remembered something like that when I met Celestia. Oh yeah, I think I remember his sister calling him Mooney, but I thought that was a nickname because it was Cutie Mark.
And that doesn't sound like a real name, Shadow.
Wingnut said. I thought for a moment. You could be right, but I'll try it.
Don't try and force it. It can kill you if you try too hard,
Aura warned. I nodded and then concentrated again. I'll be careful. Again, the voice of Nightstalker filled my head.
What is my name?
I took in a deep breath and said, Mooney. For a moment, I thought I got it right. Then his voice echoed in my head again.
Wrong!
At least this time, I was ready for the shock. When I got to my hooves, with the help of Wingnut, Aura was laughing so hard she'd fallen off her seat.
Do it again!
Ignoring her, I cursed and put the memory orb back in my saddlebags. Fuck that. I'll try the others. Who knows, maybe I'll get the answer to one of them.
Or it'll be protected too, and you'll get another shock,
Aura said, still rolling around on her back. I put one of the memory orbs we took from the control room back in the hidden project at Spitfire's Flight Academy. If this one doesn't work, I'm taking a nap instead. I made the connection. This time, no voice filled my head. Then... Holy crap! What the hell kind of body am I in? This mirror was taller than any other I'd been in before. Even Nightstalker wasn't this tall. Also, not only could I feel a horn, but my host also had wings. Goddesses. I'm in a memory of one of the goddesses. Squee! The question is, which one of them was I in? More than likely it was Celestia. So far, I hadn't found a single memory orb that showed the goddess of the night. I got my answer quickly when I saw not a white hoof come up, but a dark blue one. I was in Luna. Double squee. She lifted her hoof and rubbed the side of her head slowly before a pony dressed in a fancy tux and what looked like his mare friend, dressed in a beautiful dress, walked up to bow before her. It is an honor, Princess Luna, he said, then turned slightly and did the same to my pony's host's right. As well as you, Princess Celestia. He walked off with his date before another pony walked up to what looked like to be the beginning of a grand staircase. My host turned her head to my sister. Tia, do I really have to greet every pony who walks in? She chuckled slightly. I wouldn't call what you've been doing greeting, but at least you're being respectful. I don't know what the problem is. You've done this all before. Luna sighed. I know, sister. But with how this war has gotten, I don't know what to say to some of them. It seems like every other pony wants me to answer something about how the war effort is going. You're doing fine, dear Luna. Just keep a smile on your face and try to give short, quick answers. Celestia said reassuringly. Sister, can you greet the ponies? I know I'm not a fan of the Grand Galloping Gala, especially with everything going on. It's not good at this kind of thing, Luna said. A pony to my host's left cleared his throat. Luna looked over at Night Stalker, who was dressed in black and blue armor. His eyes scanning the crowd for ponies as they slowly walked in the doors that led to the palace. Princess, if I may. You are the leader of Equestria now? If you don't want to sit here and greet ponies, you don't have to. Thank you, Night Stalker. But if I don't do it, it would look bad. I can't have my subjects thinking I don't care about the war or the ponies dying on the front lines, Luna said. That may be true, but throwing a party in the middle of everything that's happened as of late also gives off the same impression to the ponies who aren't part of the upper class. To them, it looks like you just want to throw parties and forget about everything, he said, his eyes still on the crowd. Celestia opted in on the conversation. Night Stalker, you should remember your place. My place is making sure my princess is safe. What I'm saying counts. With so many ponies getting in and out of the palace, it's hard for my team to watch every pony. Luna sighed and rubbed her head again. Either way, all this meet and greet is giving me a headache. I could tell she was lying. Her head felt fine. Celestia groaned. Fine. If you have to go, then do so. I'll finish up with the ponies here. Just don't wander off too far. You'll still be needed to show yourself now and then. Luna got up from her seated position and smiled a little. I will. I'm going to meet with the Ministry Mayors. They should be in the main hall. Just call if you need me, Tia. I will, Celestia said, moving over to where Luna had just been, and readying herself to greet another guest that was making its way to the forefront. Luna turned her attention to Night Stalker. Would you mind accompanying me, Night Stalker? He bowed a little. I live to serve you, my princess. They both moved down the steps. As they did, two more guards moved to take their captain's place, both watching out over Princess Celestia. Luna said a few polite hellos to a few ponies she passed as she headed towards another set of large doors. As the two walked, she said, Night Stalker, are you sure you are okay? You look more displeased with things than you normally do. I'll be okay, princess, he said, not looking at her. She stopped walking. Night Stalker, you know you can call me Luna when it's just the two of us. He stopped as well, looking around to see if any pony was within earshot. Then he left his guard down a little and slumped. Honestly, Luna, I'm having a hard time dealing with things. After Phoenix Heart was killed during that last stealth mission, my team's morale was way down. Now we have intel that the MOM is looking into the death of that traitor. My team is nowhere to live in Las Pegasus, let alone is making it hard for us to plan. We have no base of operations out there. I am sorry about Phoenix Heart. I heard the two of you knew each other back before you joined the military. She was one of the ponies who helped me into joining, he said. What about that zebra you captured? Are you able to turn him over to Pinky? He shook his head. No. Zoppins has honestly been a well of information. We have him held with us in our temporary base outside Las Pegasus. I'm not sure why, but he seems to want to help us fight his father. I kept telling myself he's tricking me, but the longer I hold him, the less I believe that. He really hates his father and his brothers. He was the one who killed a member of your own team. Can you really trust someone like that? Luna asked. Half the time I don't even trust my own team, so I'm not sure. I've never been much of a trusting pony. I'm just as confused on what they do. He replied, again looking around to make sure the pony was listening. I take it that's what happens when a pony is raised with griffins. Maybe. I've always trusted griffins over ponies, though I do put my trust into some ponies like you, Twilight, Rainbow, Minette, and Lightning Dust, he said with a small smile. You can always trust me, Night Stalker. I'll be here for you no matter what happens. Thank you, Luna. Now, shouldn't we go check on the party, how it is getting along? He said. My host giggled. I'm sure Pinky is making a fuss about how much better she could have made the gala. Twilight is most unlikely trying to ignore Pinkie, and is probably trying to find a way to get away from this so she can get back to whatever project she's working on. Rarity most likely is chatting up every pony of note while she can, and others are probably trying to hide from the ponies who want to meet the Ministry Mares.
At least on the bright side, maybe every pony else will be too busy talking to them to worry about you,
he said with a quick laugh, but the smile he gave was fake. Not sure if Luna could see it, but Night Stalker looked tired, stressed, and ready to break. How about we make this quick, then call it a night? I think you could use a break, she said, and she turned to head toward the grand doors.
He nodded. That sounds like a wonderful idea.
As soon as they walked in, ponies started to bow and clap their hooves on the ground. Luna bowed her head a little to them as they walked past her, making her way to a set of ponies I knew all too well from my classes. 4 of the Ministry Mares were standing around a small table talking to each other. Twilight, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Fluttershy. Luna walked over to them, with Night Stalker not far behind. When she reached their table, the 4 friends stopped talking. Twilight bowed low. Princess Luna, I didn't expect you to be in the Grand Hall yet. I had enough of greeting ponies and decided to walk around and see how you are all doing, Luna said, looking around. Where is Pinkie Pie? Who cares? Twilight said. I mean, we haven't seen her in a while. Smooth, Twilight. Really smooth, Rarity said, rolling her eyes. Are you two still not talking, Twilight? Luna asked. No, Twilight's still angry with her, Rarity said. If you ask me, it's just silly. Twilight got to her hooves. I have some work to get done. I'll see you all later. Twilight, don't go. We haven't seen you in a long time, Fluttershy said. Rarity sighed. Let's go talk to her, Fluttershy. Would you please excuse us, Princess Luna? It is no problem at all, Luna replied as they followed the purple unicorn to what looked like the gardens. Rainbow Dash watched them leave and sighed. I wish Twilight would get over herself. She doesn't see how she's acting towards Pinkie Pie and helping her get better. It's only making her worse. Does she still think I don't know about Pinkie Pie's problem with those party time Mentals? Luna asked. Yeah. She doesn't want to keep covering for her, so she thinks it's better to ignore Pinkie instead of trying to cover for her, Rainbow replied. I wish you'd just talk to me about it, but Twilight and I don't have the same kind of relationship that her and my sister do, Luna said with a sigh, moving to sit next to Rainbow, Night Stalker moving around to stand beside her. Rainbow looked around, then whispered behind her hoof. Is there any word about what's going on with the zebras in Las Pegasus? Night Stalker moved closer and said quietly, Not yet, but we are getting close. Zappin has been helping us track his brother's movements, and so far they haven't shown themselves. And the real question is, can we trust the info that we've gotten from the Solo Zebra Battalion moving closer to the city? Luna asked. The information we have is solid, Rainbow said. Give it time. The children have just started working in that area. We can talk about this later, Night Stalker said, nodding his head towards a pony who was making her way towards them. Looks like Pinkie's found us. The pink pony had a huge smile on her face as she bounced towards my host and the other 2. Her mane was striped with gray, making her mane look like pink cotton candy. Her eyes were dilated, and when she spoke, she sounded like she was a little drunk or high on something. But she was still extremely energetic when she spoke. Look at what we have here! It's Princess Luna! Who's the soldier buck you got with you, huh, Princess? Hello, Pinkie Pie. It looks like you've been having a good time, Luna said to herself, smiling forcefully. I wouldn't call this gala a fun party at all, Princess. It's almost as boring as the first one my friends and I went to so many years ago. I was trying to get some of the ponies in the band to play a more upbeat song, but they said, Go away, you freak! Do you even know who I am? I'm sure they were too busy to worry about requests tonight, Pinkie, Rainbow Dash said. Dashy, come on. You know that the 2 of us could liven up this party if we tried hard enough. Ooh, maybe Princess Luna can help. Maybe give a decree that every pony should dance until they drop, Pinkie Pie said, jumping up and down. Night Stalker moved around the other side of Luna and whispered in her ear. I don't like being this close to her. She's making me feel really uncomfortable with how uppity she is. Pinkie Pie stopped midair and slowly fell back to the ground. How the fuck did she do that?
What are you whistling about, Mr. Whispery with Mipperton? Remember, Pinkie Pie is watching you. Forever! It says so on the posters.
Night Stalker looked baffled as the pink pony got inches away from his face. He pushed her back slowly with a single hoof. It's none of your business, Ministry Mayor. She got even closer to him.
You're hiding something from me. I can feel it.
As she said this, an ear twitched. Her nose scrunched and her eyes blinked 3 times. She backed up a little.
No way.
All 3 of the ponies around the table looked at her in confusion. Luna asking, "What is wrong, Pinkie?" Pinkie Pie backed up more, her eyes glued on Night Stalker. Her tail started to shake, one of her knees looking like it was vibrating, and her left eye twitched, as she said,
Somebody needs to call the guards.
My host's eyes went wide as Rainbow Dash asked in a concerned voice,
What's going on, Pinkie Pie? Did your pinky sense something?
Her eyes never left Night Stalker, who stared right back into hers. Her hoof came up as she pointed to him.
He's evil. He's going to kill us all.
Miss Pie, I think you've had a little too much to drink, Night Stalker said, moving towards her. Maybe some pony should bring you back to your room so you can rest up?
Stay away from me,
she said a little too loudly.
You're the nameless pony, the shadow that walks. You're going to kill us all.
Night Stalker, stand down, Luna said as she looked at Pinkie Pie. Pinkie, Night Stalker is my personal guard and trusted soldier.
Princess Luna, he's not the pony he says he is. Night Stalker isn't even his real name.
Her eyes fell back on Night Stalker, who had stopped walking towards her. His face still calm. Her eyes got wider.
Project Stargazer!
She started to scream. Night Stalker moved quickly. He blasted forward. A hoof came up and around, hitting her in the temple, knocking her out cold. Pinkie Pie fell like a sack of potatoes. Ponies were starting to look over to where the pink mare was lying and starting to whisper to each other. Night Stalker ignored it all. He pressed a gem to his chest and said, I need a couple of guards to show Miss Pie back to her room. She's had a little too much to drink and is causing a scene. When that was done, my host stood. It is okay, every pony. One of our guests just drank a little too much. Please go back to what you were doing. It took a minute or two for the ponies to turn away from the fallen mare. Once they had, a couple royal guards flew in and started to pick up the still unconscious Pinkie Pie. As they did, Rainbow Dash moved closer to Luna, asking, What was that all about? I thought we were the only 3 who knew what the project was about. Luna shook her head. We are. But you know that when it comes to Pinkie Pie, things never make sense. You should go with the guards and be there when she wakes up. You're better at dealing with her when she gets like this. Do whatever you can to make her forget about this. No problem. The minute is in the castle, I'll have her pull this memory from Pinkie Pie's head, Rainbow Dash said as she went to follow the 2 guards. I'll see you tomorrow. When they were gone, Night Stalker moved back to my host. He didn't look as calm as he had before. This is why I didn't want to be around her. I know, Night Stalker. Maybe for now we should take our leave? Luna said. I agree, he said. The 2 of them pushed past ponies, some trying to ask the princess what was going on, or what she had planned for the war effort. Night Stalker pushed each one aside, not giving any explanation apart from a quick, move or I'll move you. Soon the 2 of them were past all the guests, and walking down the hall into one of the upper areas of the castle. Neither of them spoke until they reached a room with a dark purple door, and a crescent moon on it, guarded by 2 royal guards with bat wings. Both guards bowed low as my host and Night Stalker came walking down the hall. You may both leave for now. Night Stalker will be enough to protect me. They both looked at each other, then back at my host, bowed again, then left. My host pushed the door open, walked into the large dark room with an open balcony, overlooking a large courtyard and Canterlot. As soon as the door shut behind Night Stalker, all of his professional demeanor vanished. He cursed loudly and kicked one of the tall wardrobes over. Damn it! Fuck! Son of a bitch! Luna sighed. Must you destroy my things? How did she know? He asked, starting to pace the room. All the planning, the secrecy, the time we put into this project, and still Pinkie Pie found out. Night Stalker, calm down, Luna demanded. her horn glowing and a flash of light rolling over the tall gray Pegasus. He stopped in the light as it washed over him. He blinked a couple of times and let out a long breath. Sorry, Luna. I shouldn't let myself go like that. My host moved closer to him. Night Stalker, talk to me without yelling. Tell me what's bothering you. Please? I don't understand how she could have known about Stargazer. Minette is still working on the details for it. We've been so careful, he said. Pinkie Pie has a gift. Sometimes she just knows things that she doesn't even understand. I'm not sure how she knew the name Stargazer, but I don't think she knows what it does. Night Stalker gave her a look. She said I was evil, that I was going to kill every pony. Why would she say that? I'm not evil. I'm not. To my shock, the big stallion had tears in his eyes. The moon, flowing in from the balcony, made them look like little stars rolling down his cheeks. Luna moved even closer, and using a wing, she dried his cheek. Why did you let that get to you? I've known you for so long and never let any pony's words get to you like that before. He looked away. It's not so much what she said, it's the fact that most ponies look at me the way she did. When I kill, when I have to protect you, when I'm doing what I have to do to keep my friends safe, they all look at me like I'm evil, like I'm a monster. It's been like that since I first came back to Equestria. When I was in Griffinstone, they never treated me any differently. I have to admit, you do give off an aura of danger, she teased. I didn't always. I had to become what I am now. It was the only way I could protect the ponies I cared for, he said solemnly. It doesn't matter right now. I'm more worried about Stargazer. Don't worry about it. Rainbow will make sure Pinkie Pie forgets about it. She knows that no pony can find out about that project. That's good, he said, taking in a deep breath and letting out a long sigh. My host moved to the other side of her room, started to pull off the frilly dress she was wearing. Are you sure this project will work, Night Stalker? From what Minette's been telling me, I believe so. The question is if you're willing to go through with it, he replied. She didn't answer right away. She used the time to hang the dress up. It scares me, I'll admit that. The last time I did this, I lost my power. She turned to look at Night Stalker, who was watching her intently. This will work. We're making sure you don't become her this time. My host smiled. I have total trust in my children of the night, even if my sister was the one who decided to bring them back, especially after I told her I didn't want her to. He returned a smile. I thought you were past that. My host moved to Night Stalker, her face inches from his own. I changed my mind once I met you. Night Stalker blushed a little, then looked away embarrassed. Luna. My host ignored him and pulled his face back to look at her. Her muzzle moved down and kissed him slowly. Night Stalker went stiff for a moment. They stayed like that for a long moment. Then, when she pulled away, she giggled at the look on his face. What? Haven't you ever kissed a mare before? Plenty of times, just... You're the princess and the ruler of Equestria. Luna moved over to her large bed and laid down. That I am. And didn't you swear to serve me in all ways with a whole heart and mind? I did, but I'm not sure this is part of the oath, he replied, his eyes glued on her outstretched body. She smiled at him. I say otherwise. Now get out of that armor. Let me show the captain of my children of the night how to really relax after a stressful night. I'm not sure it's right for me to... That wasn't a request, Captain, Luna interrupted. Yes, Your Highness, Night Stalker said. He started to pull off his armor, not rushing like you'd expect a stallion who'd just been invited into the bed of a princess would. More like a stallion who wasn't sure if this was a trap or a dream. As he started to remove his armor, Luna asked, Night Stalker, that scar over your eye, how did you get that? Was it from one of your battles? He stopped and let a hoof run over his left eye. No, I've had this since I was a colt. I got into a bad fight with a couple griffins who were picking on Greta. I got in the way. This is the reward I got for getting in the middle of two griffins fighting. At least you didn't lose your eye. she said. It was a close thing. I couldn't see out of it for a few months, and when I could, it took another month or so before I got my vision fully back, he said, finishing removing his armor and walking over to the bed to look down at my host. Are you sure about this? He reached up and pulled him close to her. I could feel Night Stalker's body relax as she held onto him. I'm not sure about anything anymore, but for tonight all I want is somebody to hold me, to love me, and to pretend for one night that I'm just a mayor and not the ruler of Equestria. Can you do that for me? His green eyes met hers. I'll do anything for you, Luna. His muzzle came up and he kissed her deeply. I came out of the memory orb, finding the sky carriage flying faster than before I started watching the memory. I took the orb and put it back in my saddlebags, looked over at Aura, who was holding onto the seat for dear life as the sky carriage turned sharply, then dove. What the fuck's going on? She looked over at me. About time you're out of that thing. Why is doorstop flying like this? I yelled as the sky carriage lurched to one side, almost throwing me into the door. Aura and the others held onto the carriage as it leveled off again. We're under attack. Doorstop's trying to lose him. Lose who? I asked. Wingnut was holding on to Windthrasher. Dragon! My eyes went wide, and I looked in the back view window of our sky carriage. Followed close behind was a large green and black dragon. It had to be as big as the Lucky Horseshoe. Its dark purple eyes were locked onto us as we dove again, barreling towards the ground. What did we do to piss that thing off? No idea. It just showed up out of nowhere. One minute we're flying along, the next thing we know, it was trying to kill us. Aura replied, still bracing herself. We're lucky it hasn't breathed fire on us yet, or we'd be goners. I looked back again at the creature as it dove after us, pulling up sharply as Doorstop tried to lose it with a quick maneuver around a cliff. I watched as it banked hard and then tried to follow us through an even tighter space. Its back just scraped the cliff as it flew by. Doorstop, tried to lead through a space too small for it to fit. What do you think I'm trying to find? He yelled back at me as the sky carriage turned sharply, making my stomach feel like it was doing flips. I looked out the small front window and saw him leading us to a small pass between two cliffs. One that was almost too small for us to fit through. The dragon wouldn't even seem to come close to getting through it. I looked back as the dragon grew closer, its large mouth opening wide to snap shut on us. When we passed through the small opening, for a moment I thought we got away, and the dragon swooped off and flew away, just missing the cliff. Stop here, and keep us out of hover. It can't fit in here, I said quickly. Doorstop complied, and we came to a halt. We can't hide in here forever, and I can't outrun that thing. I ignored him and watched the dragon flew back, turned and raced for the cavern. What is it doing? I asked as it built up speed. Was it going to try and break through the thick rock? Right before it slammed into the small space, there was a bright green glow and the dragon vanished. It was replaced by a green and black griffin holding a spear and still heading straight for us. Get us out of here! Doorstop started to fly off again as the griffin zipped towards us with a spear raised high and wide, a smile on his face, while his purple eyes locked onto my red ones. Aura and my other friends watched as he got closer. What the fuck is that thing? Those eyes looked so familiar. No fucking way. It's Envy! It's Envy! The griffin charged again, into the Pegasus with the dreadlocks I knew all too well. Good job, small fry. It's time to pay the piper for killing Pride. I pulled Stardust's rifle off my back and took aim. I wasn't anywhere near as good a shot as he was, but I had more ammo for this than I did for my plasma rifle. I opened fire as the green Pegasus, so did Laserlight and Wingnut and Aura. Envy just laughed and started to dodge and weave as bullets and magical energy flew past him. He started to laugh like a mad pony as he drew closer to us. How the fuck do you shoot this guy? Aura yelled as she reloaded and opened fire again. Not sure, but he's the best fighter the Sims have, I yelled, still trying to shoot the fucker. What's wrong, Half-Pint? I thought you were the savior of the Mojave. Envy said, flapping his wings harder as he increased speed. Some pony do something! I can't keep up this pace for too long! Doorstop yelled as he came to the other side of the narrow pass. He was right. If we didn't take him out soon, Envy was going to catch us and most likely rip us all to shreds. I put the rifle back on my back, focusing on magic, stuck my horn out the window and yelled, "Say cheese!" A massive blast of energy flew towards Envy. He cursed and flew higher to avoid the spell. At the same time, Doorstop dove, trying to get us further away from the strange Pegasus as he could. It was the worst idea he could come up with. Envy dove once again, changing into a massive dragon. He smiled and roared at us. "Time to die!" "Doorstop, he's coming!" I yelled as the dragon came flying down at us with tremendous speed. Doorstop screamed as he pulled the sky carriage out of the dive as hard as he could, turning us to one side right as Envy flew past. For a moment it looked like we could avoid him, but as he passed by, his massive tail swung around and slammed into the side of the sky carriage, throwing us into an uncontrolled dive. "Hold on! We're coming in for a bad landing!" Doorstop yelled right before we slammed into the hard ground. The sky carriage rolling and flipping out, throwing us all inside. I tried to take hold of the sky carriage with my magic as it rolled, trying to stop it, but all it did was make my magic almost backfire on me. I screamed as my whole body slammed in one of the hard seats. My head flew up and hit a wall, and my forelegs slammed through one of the windows. My body followed, and I was thrown from the sky carriage. My body slamming to the ground and rolling a few more times before coming to a skidding stop a few feet away from the sky carriage. I moaned as pain throbbed and my horn sparked and sizzled from the spell I tried to use to stop the crash. My head felt as if Stardust bucked it with all his strength. Luckily, I was still alive, even if I did feel like shit. I looked up, and through tear-filled eyes, I saw the sky carriage leaning on its side. A moment later, Doorstop landed next to me. "You all right, Shorty?" "I think so. My body just hurts. A lot. How'd you get free?" "My carriage has an emergency latch in case something like this happens," he replied. "Go check on the others," I said slowly, trying to get to my hooves. I heard a wingnut yell from the battered carriage. "We're all alive! Can we not ever try that again?" I would have laughed and thanked the goddesses if I could have. But right then, Envy landed next to us. A maniacal grin planted on his face. "Hello, Shadowstar. And goodbye." His hoof came up like he was going to smash my head like a melon, and out of nowhere, a bullet slammed into his armor. Envy cursed as he flew back. A smooth voice echoed out from behind me. "You better leave, monster, before the next shot takes your head off." I looked back and saw a tall Pegasus with deep amber eyes, who was wearing makeshift armor standing on a ledge. He was holding a tall sniper rifle, his muzzle and face almost covered by a scarf, but his muzzle was held down by the bit ready to fire. Envy started to laugh. "Who the fuck are you? And why do you give two shits about them? All they are is just another wasteland casualty. No need to interfere." "I won't warn you again. Leave before I make you. I won't let anybody hurt ponies that are traveling within the jurisdiction of the kingdom." "Oh, really? And how do you plan on making me? That mare killed two of my comrades, and she's an enemy of the Grand Pegasus Enclave. And I don't give a fuck about the kingdom or their so-called borders and rules," Envy yelled. The Pegasus just shook his head, lowered the rifle, and pulled out a smaller silver whistle out of his pocket. "You're Envy, right? First member of the 7 Sins of Equinity out of Stratus?" Envy grinned and cackled. "Indeed I am. If you know us, then you know it's pretty stupid to try and fight us alone, especially me," Envy replied. "For most ponies, maybe. But I'm not most ponies," he said, putting the whistle into his muzzle and blowing. It didn't make any kind of sound that I could hear. Whatever it was doing something to Envy, though. His eyes got wide and he started to scream, his hooves coming up to cover his ears as he started to roll around on the ground in agony. "Stop it!" The Pegasus didn't stop. He blew harder on the whistle, and Envy screamed even louder, his form starting to glow like it did when he was about to transform again. Only this time, it looked like his form was melting away. Before the Pegasus could hurt it, and more with whatever kind of weapon that whistle was, Envy screamed louder, then jumped into the air and flew away as fast as he could. Once he was out of sight, he stopped blowing the whistle and moved over to me. I hope you're all right, miss. I winced as fresh waves of pain rolled through my body. I wouldn't say all right, but I'll live. He chuckled. You're lucky you survived that fall, and you're doubly lucky my team was here when I was flying nearby. I can't disagree, I said as I saw my friends pulling themselves from the wreckage of the sky carriage. Though, I wish we didn't crash at all. We needed that to get to Saint's Parish.
Who's this?
Aura asked as she pressed a piece of torn cloth against a cut on her forehead. They all looked as bad as I felt, but at least my friends were alive. I looked back at the pony who just saved us. Thanks for your help. But what was that thing you used to make Envy fly away? Nothing much. Just a high-frequency whistle to keep some of the nastier bugs away while we scavenge. Zapwings are a big problem around here. I looked at him with confusion. That's all? How did you know that would work on Envy? He chuckled. I don't know why it works, but that's not the first time I've dealt with him. The Sins make trouble for the kingdom every now and again, when they don't have others to hunt down. I found out a few years back that for some reason Envy can't stand the sound of our bug whistles. Damn. Need to get me one of those, I said, wincing again as I did my best to get to my hooves. He reached into a bag he had slung over his shoulder and gave me a restoration potion. Here, this should help. I have plenty for all your friends. As they all came over and took a bottle, we drank them down, Aura looking at him.
Did I hear you say you're from the kingdom?
The pony, who kept his face covered by a scarf, looked at her and nodded. Yes, I am. I run the scavenging ponies from the main city. I take it you've met with us before.
Yeah, once. My friend Tripwire used to have a trade agreement with a pony in your town, she answered.
Aura, what's the kingdom? I asked, as my body started to heal slowly.
It's a massive settlement that takes in all kinds, from banished griffins to branded Dashites or runaway slaves or zebras. The pony who rules them is a good stallion. You can trust any pony from the kingdom, she replied.
The Pegasus laughed. He definitely is, and yes, we do help ponies in need when we can. Did you say you were trying to get to Saint's Parish?
Yeah, we're looking for a friend of ours,
Wingnut said.
Well, you're in luck then. The kingdom isn't that far from here. Why don't you come back with my team and maybe meet up with our emperor? I'm sure he'd love to meet ponies like you, who are being hunted by the Sins. He loves criminals.
Ponies considered criminals to the Enclave, anyway, the scarfed pony said.
Hey, mister, where are you hiding your face?
Wingnut asked. He looked over at Wingnut and laughed.
I wouldn't say I'm hiding it. We just get a lot of storms around here, and it helps keep the dust and dirt out of my face when I'm flying.
He reached up and pulled off the scarf. He had a peach coat that went well with his amber eyes. He also had a couple of scars running over his muzzle. He reached up and pulled off his cap, revealing a short-cut orange and yellow mane.
I was expecting something more exciting,
Windthrasher said. Then she blushed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud.
He chuckled again. Don't worry about it. Are you a bat pony? She blushed harder and hid behind Aura.
Maybe.
That's Windthrasher. Don't mind her. She's really shy sometimes, I said. He shrugged.
That's okay. I just didn't know bat ponies were real. I heard stories about them before, but never much thought went into the stories.
It's kind of a long story when it comes to Windthrasher, but she's kind.
Sometimes too kind,
Aura said, stepping to the side so Windthrasher couldn't keep hiding.
Stop using me like a shield.
Sorry, Aura. I just don't like being stared at,
Windthrasher said quietly. He chuckled again.
Sorry about that. I'll try not to in the future. I'm Cutter. It's nice to meet you all.
I introduced the rest of my friends and myself, then asked, So this kingdom you're talking about, is there any pony that can help us fix our sky carriage? There is, as a matter of fact. I can introduce you to one once we get into the main city. First, I need to ask you all something before we head out. He replied.
What?
Aura asked. Why in the name of Celestia would you want to go to St. Parish of all places? Footnote. Level up. New perk added. Binge Watcher. Jeez, you watch a lot of memory orbs. You gain temporary +1 boost to overall intelligence and perception for a limited time after watching a memory orb.